Angela always knew her cat Nero was special. His unique appearance often turned heads on their daily walks. However, nothing prepared her for the day she visited the local vet. As whispers filled the clinic, the vet, with years of experience under her belt, took one look at Nero and firmly refused to conduct an examination. The revelation behind the vet's decision left the entire room in stunned silence, especially Angela. With Nero in her arms, Angela was stunned into silence by the words of the vet. What did he mean? Why the hell did he not want to check out her poor kitten? Even worse, the vet was firmly pointing his finger to the door. Angela needed to leave right now, and the vet made it very clear that there was no discussion possible. If Angela did not leave right now, he would call the police to have her escorted out. Part of Angela actually wanted him to do this, as the policeman could have the vet explain her reasons, but she did not want the confrontation at the moment. The whole situation was already stressful enough as is. She was just going to leave. But this was not the end of it. Welcome to Wonderbot Animals. Outside, she looked into the eyes of her poor cat. There was no way around the nose, but that had never been the case. Ever since Nero was just a kitten, he already had an enlarged nose. Of course, she had this checked when she first adopted her now-beloved animal, but the vet at the time confirmed that this was simply a birth defect that had no risks to the animal's health. The vet they saw today had never seen Nero before. They had only recently moved to the city, and Nero suddenly started exhibiting some strange symptoms. They needed a new vet to have him checked out. But clearly, they had gone to the wrong person. He was very highlight rated in the area, but all Angela could imagine now was that those reviews were fake. Luckily, there were a couple more veterinarian clinics in the area that Angela could bring Nero to. But trying to make an appointment with these places would turn out to be impossible, and the reason frustrated Angela to the bone. Every single time she gave her name to confirm an appointment, she was told that they could not help her, and then the line was disconnected. As Angela hung up from yet another disconnected call, her confusion morphed into suspicion. The rejections were too consistent, too cold. Piecing together the puzzle, it dawned on her. The vet must have warned the entire local network about her and Nero. The thought sent a chill down her spine. How could a professional spread such a silent alarm, leaving her utterly isolated with a sick pet in her arms? Each new call ended in the same abrupt manner, a professional courtesy turned cold shoulder. It was as if the whole veterinary community had conspired against her. Angela's mind raced with questions. Why would they deny Nero treatment? The weight of this unseen network pressed down on her, making her feel small and desperate. She felt trapped in an unseen web of professional secrecy, struggling to find a single thread of hope. Angela looked down at Nero, his unique nose more prominent than ever. It had always been his quirky feature, the one everyone noticed, but now it seemed like a curse. Could this unusual trait be at the heart of their troubles? She remembered the vet's strange glance, the unspoken words. Her love for Nero was boundless, yet it seemed his very appearance was a barrier to his well-being. The pattern was undeniable. Angela's frustration grew with each call, each rejection. It was as if she and Nero had been stealthily placed on a blacklist, their names synonymous with a problem no one dared touch. The vet's influence appeared far-reaching and his reasons enigmatic. What could possibly make a professional risk their reputation to avoid treating one small, strange-looking cat? The mystery deepened, fueling Angela's resolve. Angela's desperation bloomed into fierce determination. Nero needed her. He had no one else. The injustice of their situation, the blatant refusal of care, ignited a fire within her. She would not let the vet's silent alarm dictate Nero's fate. Vowing to unearth the truth and find help for her beloved pet, Angela prepared to confront the shadows of a profession she once trusted, no matter what it took. Fueled by a mother's protective instinct, Angela stormed back to the first vet's office. Her voice firm, her eyes steely, she demanded an explanation for the strange refusal and widespread rejection. The vet, taken aback by her resolve, tried to deflect, but Angela was immovable. She needed answers and would not leave without them. The clinic's air was thick with tension, an unspoken understanding that something had to give. Under the weight of Angela's unwavering gaze, the vet's resistance crumbled. He agreed to a private meeting after hours, away from prying eyes and curious ears. Angela, though wary, sensed a crack in the vet's professional facade. It was a small victory, but it was something. As she left the clinic, the promise of a private discussion hung in the air, a delicate truce between two fiercely opposing forces. Stepping out of the clinic, Angela felt a tumultuous mix of emotions. Skepticism gnawed at her, but a fragile thread of hope lingered. The upcoming meeting was a chance, however slim, to peel back the layers of mystery surrounding Nero's treatment. She prepared herself for any outcome, her spirit tempered by the day's small wins and lingering uncertainties. It was a brief respite, a momentary ceasefire in an escalating battle. The day stretched endlessly as Angela waited. Each tick of the clock was a loud echo in her anxious mind. She rehearsed questions, played out scenarios, and braced for possible revelations. Nero, sensing her unease, stayed close, his presence a comforting constant in the chaos of her thoughts. The hours were a marathon of anticipation and dread, a mental tug-of-war between her fear of the unknown and her need for the truth. As the appointed time neared, Angela confirmed the details once more. The location was set. The moment was at hand. This meeting could change everything. She steeled herself, gathering all the courage and resolve she could muster. Nero, her silent ally, seemed to understand the gravity of the moment. Together, they moved toward the unknown, ready to face whatever lay ahead in the quest for answers and justice. Back home, Angela watched Nero with a heavy heart. His playful spark had dimmed. His movements were lethargic. Every shallow breath he took was a stab of fear in Angela's heart. She felt a growing sense of helplessness, watching the little life she cherished struggle so profoundly. It was a quiet battle, one filled with silent pleas and whispered promises of better days, if only they could find the help they needed. As Nero's condition visibly worsened, the clock became Angela's enemy. Each second ticked away a bit of her hope. Should she wait for the vet's explanation or seek help elsewhere? The dilemma tormented her. Every clinic in the area seemed a dead end, yet waiting felt like surrendering to the unknown ailment claiming Nero. Time was slipping through her fingers, and with it, Nero's vitality. Night fell, and Angela stayed by Nero's side, her vigil unwavering. She tended to him with a gentle hand, her touch a tender reassurance in the quiet darkness. Her mind raced with worry, each hour heavier than the last. Sleep was an elusive dream, chased away by the fear of what the morning might bring. It was a long, solemn night, a guardian and her charge bound together in shared uncertainty. Despite the gnawing fear in her gut, Angela clung to the sliver of hope that the upcoming meeting held. It was a lifeline in a sea of doubts. She had to believe that the vet had a valid reason, an explanation that would lead to Nero's recovery. Her resolve was a flickering flame, vulnerable yet persistent, fighting against the darkness of despair with the promise of understanding and a chance for healing. Dawn broke on the day of reckoning. Angela prepared herself, her every move deliberate, her mind set. The meeting loomed in her future, a pivotal point that would steer the course of their lives. She gathered Nero into her arms, his frail form a stark reminder of the stakes at hand. Together, they stepped into the light of the new day, facing whatever truths and trials lay ahead. Angela meticulously gathered Nero's medical records and every note she'd taken over his lifetime. Each document was a piece of the puzzle, potentially crucial to understanding the vet's refusal. She organized them with a fervor driven by the need to advocate for Nero. This collection was more than just paper. It was evidence of her dedication and a testament to her determination to fight for her beloved cat's life. As the meeting drew closer, Angela's resolve wavered under the weight of doubt. Had she done enough? Was waiting the right choice? The possibility of losing Nero was a spectre haunting her every thought. She grappled with the fear that time was Nero's enemy and that every moment of inaction brought him closer to an unseen edge. It was a burden that bowed her shoulders but never broke her spirit. Angela's love for Nero transcended the ordinary. It was a fierce, maternal bond that fueled her every action. Her fear for him was all-consuming, an undercurrent to every breath she took. She watched over him, her vigil a silent prayer for his health and future. In her eyes, Nero was not just a pet. He was a cherished soul, and she was his unwavering protector against the shadows of uncertainty. The day stretched before Angela like an endless road. Each minute ticked by with excruciating slowness, a countdown to the unknown. Her mind was a whirlwind of what-ifs and maybes, each scenario playing out with vivid intensity. The waiting was a mental marathon, each step an effort against the inertia of time. Yet she endured, her focus fixed on the horizon of the meeting, the promise of answers her only respite. As dusk painted the sky in shades of closure, Angela fortified her resolve. The evening's meeting was a beacon in the night, guiding her through her doubts and fears. She reviewed her notes, rehearsed her questions, and steadied her heart. This conversation could alter the course of their lives, and she was ready to face it head-on. With Nero at her side, she stepped into the twilight, ready for whatever truths lay in wait. Angela stepped into the clinic, her footsteps echoing in the vacant space. The usually bustling office was unnervingly still, the silence amplifying her unease. She glanced around, half expecting shadows to move. This was the place where answers lay hidden, yet it felt like a deserted stage after the final act. The emptiness was a stark contrast to the turmoil within her, a chilling prelude to the impending revelation. Seated in the lifeless waiting room, Angela's anxiety climbed to new heights. Each passing minute was a wave crashing against her composure. Her mind spun with potential scenarios, each more unsettling than the last. The ticking of the clock was a relentless reminder of the dragging time, a metronome to her spiraling thoughts. With every tick, her heart matched pace, racing towards an outcome she could neither predict nor control. The vet's arrival broke the silence like a sudden storm. His face was an enigma, betraying nothing of his thoughts or intentions. As he gently took Nero from Angela's arms, a wave of apprehension washed over her. This man held the keys to their future, yet his unreadable expression offered no comfort. Angela watched, her throat tight with unsaid pleas as they disappeared into the depths of the clinic. Angela paced outside, her mind a battleground of hope and frustration. She was told to wait, but every moment felt like an eternity. Her thoughts swirled with questions and fears, each one a sharp jab to her resolve. She wanted to burst through the doors, to demand answers, to end the agonizing uncertainty. Yet she held back, her trust in the fragile promise of revelation keeping her rooted in place. As time stretched on, the silence became a tangible presence, oppressive and unyielding. Angela's imagination ran wild, conjuring images of what might be happening beyond the closed doors. The lack of information, the absence of any sign from the vet, gnawed at her sanity. She felt trapped in a limbo of her own making, her decision to trust the vet now a haunting question. The quiet of the clinic was a heavy cloak, wrapping her in a cold embrace of helplessness and dread. Angela's composure shattered like glass under pressure. She stormed through the clinic's doors, her voice a crescendo of demand and desperation. The need to see Nero, to ensure his safety, consumed her. No longer could she be a silent spectator to her own fate and Nero's. She was a force of nature, driven by a love so fierce it refused to be stifled by procedure or protocol. The truth hit Angela like a physical blow. Nero, her beloved companion, had been taken by animal control. Disbelief morphed into shock, then quickly ignited into a blazing fury. How could the vet, a supposed guardian of animal welfare, commit such a betrayal? The revelation was a cruel twist, a stab to the heart of her trust. Her mind reeled, but her resolve only hardened. This was not the end. Face to face with the vet, Angela unleashed her fury. Each word was a sharp accusation, a reflection of the betrayal she felt. His actions were unforgivable, a deception that went beyond professional misconduct. The vet had played God with Nero's life, and Angela's trust had been the collateral damage. Her anger was a tempest, leaving no room for excuses or explanations. This was a breach that could never be mended. With no time to lose, Angela dashed out of the clinic. Her mind was singularly focused on saving Nero. The streets stretched out before her, a labyrinthine challenge, but her determination was a guiding light. The animal control van was ahead, a moving target she was intent on catching. Every second was precious, every moment a step closer to Nero. She was a woman on a mission, driven by an unbreakable bond. Angela followed the van, her eyes locked on its retreating form. The streets were a blur around her, the outside world reduced to a mere backdrop for her pursuit. Her heart pounded in rhythm with the chase, each beat a drum of determination. She navigated turns and traffic with a single-minded focus. Nero was out there, waiting for her, and nothing would stand in her way. This chase was a testament to her resolve, a mother's love in motion. As Angela narrowed the gap between her car and the van, her desperation reached a fever pitch. Each turn of the wheels was a step closer to Nero. Her focus was laser-sharp, the outside world a mere blur as she navigated the streets with a single goal in mind. The chase was not just a physical pursuit, but a battle of wills, her resolve against the fading distance. Arriving at the treatment center, Angela's heart was a drum of anticipation and dread. She leaped from her car, her every step fueled by urgency. The building loomed, a fortress holding her beloved Nero. She steeled herself as she approached the entrance, prepared to face the barriers between her and her cat. It was a moment of truth, the culmination of her relentless pursuit. Angela burst into the center, armed with ownership papers and a fierce determination. She demanded to see Nero, her voice a powerful blend of command and desperation. The staff faced a woman transformed, a force to be reckoned with. She was unwavering, her presence an unspoken ultimatum. She would not be moved nor denied. She was a guardian asserting her right, a bond that no policy could sever. Finally, Angela was granted access to Nero. As she laid eyes on him, a wave of relief momentarily washed over her. He was here, he was real, and he was within reach. The sight of him, even in his vulnerable state, reignited a flicker of hope in her heart. It was a poignant reunion, a brief respite in the storm, offering her the strength to face what lay ahead. In the sterile room, the vet revealed Nero's critical condition and the immediate need for surgery. Angela's emotions cascaded into a tumultuous mix of relief and worry. Relief that action was being taken, worry over the risks involved. The urgency was palpable, a ticking clock that allowed no room for hesitation. In that moment, Angela realized the full gravity of the situation, the delicate thread upon which Nero's life hung. In the sterile hush of the waiting area, Angela sat, a silent sentinel. Her gaze was fixed on the door through which Nero had disappeared, her heart marching in time with the unseen monitors. Each second was a lifetime, every shuffling footstep a potential herald. Her thoughts were a whirlwind, but through it all, a single image remained clear. Nero, her beloved companion, the center of her world. Time warped around Angela, stretching each second into an agonizing limbo. The waiting room became her universe, the clock on the wall a cruel overlord. Her mind played tricks, conjuring both hope and despair in vivid detail. She clutched Nero's favorite blanket, the soft fabric a lifeline to her fraying sanity. Waiting for news, for any sign, was a test of endurance, a trial by time. Finally, the door swung open and the vet emerged. Angela's heart leapt into her throat. His face was a mask of professional calm, but his eyes held the weight of the news. As he began to speak, Angela hung on every word, deciphering tone and expression for clues. The update was a torrent of medical jargon, but through it, a narrative emerged, one of challenge, action, and fragile hope. The vet's words settled into a cautious optimism. Nero's condition was stable. The surgery had gone as well as could be expected. Angela allowed herself a breath, a momentary loosening of the fear that had gripped her. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was a reprieve, a step back from the precipice. Her heart, so long constricted by fear, fluttered with tentative relief. Despite the vet's assurances, Angela knew her place was by Nero's side. She insisted on staying, her determination a quiet force that brooked no argument. The staff recognized the resolve in her eyes, the unspoken vow that tethered her to the recovering feline. She would be there when he awoke, a familiar presence in the disorienting aftermath. Her vigil was a promise, an anchor in the stormy seas of recovery. As Nero's eyes fluttered open, Angela was there, a steadfast presence. She whispered words of love and encouragement, her voice a soothing balm. Nero's groggy awareness focused on her, a lifeline amidst his disorientation. Angela's heart swelled as she watched him, each small movement a testament to his fighting spirit. In that sterile room, her presence was a beacon of warmth and familiarity, guiding him back. The moment Nero's gaze met Angela's was electric, a current of recognition and love. His weak meow was a symphony to her ears, a sound more precious than any melody. Tears welled in Angela's eyes, a mixture of relief and joy. Their bond, so evident in his response, was a tangible thing, a connection unbroken by surgery or circumstance. It was a reunion of souls, a silent conversation of comfort and reassurance. As Nero rested, Angela's thoughts turned to the vet's peculiar behavior. His initial refusal, the cryptic warnings, the dramatic turn of events, it all swirled in her mind like a puzzle begging to be solved. She pondered his motives, his fears, the pressures that might have led him to such drastic actions. Understanding was a distant shore, and Angela was adrift, seeking a route through the fog of confusion. In the days that followed, Nero displayed a heartening resilience. Each small improvement was a victory, a step away from the shadow of illness. Angela watched over him, her hope growing with each passing day. His strength became her strength, their journey one of mutual support and unwavering determination. The road to recovery was long, but they travelled it together, an inseparable team facing each challenge head-on. While grateful for Nero's progress, Angela couldn't shake the nagging questions about the vet's actions. Relief at Nero's recovery was tinged with frustration and a need for answers. Why had he refused to help? What had he feared? The mystery of his behaviour was an itch she couldn't scratch, a piece of the story missing and essential. Her mind returned to it again and again, a puzzle demanding to be solved. Home at last, Angela and Nero settled into their familiar space, now a sanctuary of healing and love. The ordeal they'd endured seemed both distant and close, a shadow of the past that lingered but didn't darken their present. Their connection, fortified through adversity, was a living thing, pulsing with renewed strength. Home wasn't just a place. It was wherever they faced life's battles, side by side. Watching Nero navigate his world post-surgery filled Angela with an immense sense of gratitude. Each tentative step, every curious glance, was a celebration of life and resilience. The little triumphs of daily improvement were milestones marking his journey back to health. Angela's heart swelled with each sign of his recovery, a testament to the enduring spirit of her feline companion. Nero's new beginning was a shared chapter, their story interwoven with hope. In quiet moments, Angela found herself reflecting on the tumultuous journey they'd endured. The fear, the uncertainty, the fierce drive to protect Nero, it all lingered in her memory like a vivid dream. Yet, through the turmoil, a steady current of relief and gratitude flowed. They had faced the storm and emerged together, a testament to their bond and her unwavering resolve. The experience had changed them, but their core remained unshaken. With the immediate crisis behind them, Angela's thoughts turned to the future. Determined to shield others from similar plights, she began to plan. Education, advocacy, maybe even legal action. Every option was on the table. The ordeal had lit a fire within her, a desire to make a difference, to turn her personal strife into a broader fight for justice and compassion. Her mission was clear, the path forward, a calling. As Nero's health continued to improve, so too did the depth of their bond. Angela's commitment to his well-being was an unspoken vow, a promise etched into the fabric of her being. They were more than just pet and owner. They were companions, survivors of a shared battle. Nero's purrs and affectionate nuzzles were his own pledges of trust and love. Together, they were an invincible team, their bond a fortress against the world. Angela, with a mix of determination and trepidation, confronted the vet. Finally, he confessed, admitting his critical mistake. He had misjudged Nero's condition, viewing the swollen nose as a sign of a fatal illness. His words, a mixture of professional jargon and personal guilt, laid bare the error that had set their ordeal in motion. It was a revelation that reshaped the entire narrative of their struggle. The vet's explanation continued, his voice tinged with regret. He spoke of his fear that Nero wouldn't survive the treatment, a concern amplified by the prospect of paperwork and liability. These fears, he admitted, had clouded his judgment, leading to decisions that prioritized his convenience over Nero's well-being. It was a candid admission of how professional anxieties can sometimes overshadow the very essence of care and responsibility. In a rare moment of vulnerability, the vet expressed genuine remorse. He acknowledged the distress and danger his decisions had caused, both to Angela and Nero. His regret was palpable, a professional reckoning with the consequences of his actions. It was an apology, yet the damage wrought by his choices lingered, a painful reminder of the trust that had been broken. Angela listened, her emotions a tempest of anger and disbelief. The vet's admission, while revealing, was a cold comfort against the backdrop of their ordeal. His cowardice, disguised as caution, was unfathomable to her. The trust she had placed in him, now shattered, left a bitter taste. His confession did little to quell the storm of indignation that raged within her, a righteous fury seeking an outlet. Resolved to seek justice, Angela began to explore her legal options. The vet's negligence, now laid bare, could not go unchallenged. She sought accountability, not just for the sake of retribution, but as a stand for the rights and dignity of pets like Nero and owners like herself. Her quest for justice was more than personal. It was a crusade against complacency and a fight for the voiceless. Fueled by a blend of outrage and a deep sense of injustice, Angela's decision crystallized. She would sue, seeking reparation for Nero's undue suffering and her own emotional turmoil. It was a formidable path, fraught with challenges, but her resolve was ironclad. This legal action was her statement, a declaration that such negligence was intolerable and would not go unanswered. With meticulous care, Angela began to compile her case. Each piece of evidence, each record and testimonial, was a brick in the foundation of her legal challenge. She pieced together the narrative of Nero's ordeal, supported by facts and personal accounts. It was a process both painstaking and empowering, transforming her story from a personal tragedy to a compelling argument for justice. As word of Angela's lawsuit spread, a surprising thing happened. Support poured in, not just from friends and family, but from others who had faced similar neglect. Their stories, their voices lent strength to Angela's cause, weaving a tapestry of shared experience and solidarity. It was a community united by a common desire for accountability and change, and in that unity, Angela found both comfort and strength. With the lawsuit looming, Angela steeled herself for the battle ahead. It was no longer just about Nero. It was a fight for every pet and owner who had suffered in silence. Her determination was a beacon, shining through the fog of legal complexities. She was ready to confront the system, armed with truth and driven by a profound commitment to prevent future negligence. As the legal proceedings unfolded, Angela looked forward with cautious optimism. The lawsuit, regardless of its outcome, was a catalyst for change. It was her stand against complacency, her contribution to a future where such suffering would be less likely. Angela knew the road ahead was uncertain, but she faced it with hope, ready to turn the page to a new chapter of advocacy and awareness.